Good evening. A firefighter was injured after a downtown blaze overnight.
3 buildings were damaged. No residents were hurt. And now the Ontario Fire Marshal's office is investigating. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene tonight with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. You can actually see the Ontario Fire Marshal's office behind us here. There are several people out looking through the buildings. They also have a crane up at this hour. Now, residents in this densely populated downtown neighborhood tell us that they got quite a fright last night when a very large fire jumped from home to home along the stretch of Bathurst. Viewer video shows flames shooting from the roofs of these homes on Bathurst near Richmond. Smoke billowing through the night sky as fire crews tackled the 3-alarm blaze.
Couldn't see 20 meters ahead of me because of all the smoke. It's crazy. And then all the buildings around us, including mine, our alarms started going off, so we had to evacuate.
Emergency crews got the call around 10:30 p.m. and when they arrived, they found 3 homes on fire.
It originated in one unit and spread to 2 more. But crews were managed to get it under control quite quickly.
Not a moment too soon, say area residents.
Very scary. It went up until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. And on top of that, the smoke triggered the alarm system in my building. So everybody was on the balconies.
It was really intense all night. Like, I was debating going to a friend's house. I have a dog. I was just worried about our health. And yeah, it seemed like a really big fire. I saw a lot.
One of the home's roofs would eventually collapse, but no residents were injured. Toronto Fire says only one of the homes was actually occupied.
Most of them were uninhabited.
The lot next to the affected units is empty. And CTV News has learned an application was made in 2021 to partially demolish 1 unit south of the buildings that caught fire, as well as all 7 of the homes to the north of the blaze.
The whole block was supposed to be developed into a condo.
I know these houses, they wanted to build a condo here.
The original application was, in fact, for a 12-story office building with retail space. The buildings involved in last night's fire, however, were not included in this application.
Very ambivalent about it, very scared.
While area residents speculate about a cause, fire crews have not called this fire suspicious.
At this point, our initial crews haven't determined cause, and our investigator will determine that.
One firefighter sustained minor injuries and was taken to hospital, but has since been released. The fire marshal's office is now investigating the cause of the blaze. Toronto Fire now says these homes are completely uninhabitable, with damage estimated to be in the millions. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. An arrest has been made in what police say was an unprovoked attack in Mississauga, and investigators believe it may have been hate-motivated. The victim, a woman in her 20s, had just stepped off a bus near Eglinton in here, Ontario, on Saturday when she was stabbed without warning. She suffered life-threatening injuries. Peel police say 30-year-old John Ralph Nathalapti is facing a charge of attempted murder. Investigators say the suspect and victim did not know each other.
A 12-year-old boy is among 5 youths now facing charges after 2 students were stabbed near a Scarborough high school yesterday. The stabbing happened near Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate at Guildwood Parkway and Livingston Road. 2 boys, aged 15 and 16, suffered non-life-threatening injuries after being stabbed at a nearby plaza. Today, police announced they have arrested 5 male youths, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, and 2 15-year-olds. All have been charged with 2 counts of robbery with a weapon, assault causing bodily harm, and possession of a weapon dangerous to public peace.
Peel police say a man in custody for a collision involving a TTC bus in November is now facing charges in a series of armed home invasions in Mississauga and Brampton just days prior to the crash. 32-year-old Aniston Ganeshmurthy is facing several charges, including break and enter. Police say he was one of 5 suspects wanted in connection with 3 home invasions in the early morning hours of November 13th. One was in Mississauga and the other 2 were in Brampton. At the time of his arrest, Peel police say he was in custody for criminal charges after allegedly driving a stolen vehicle that caused a serious collision involving a TTC bus in North York, November 18th. A total of 9 people were injured in that crash, including 2 who suffered life-threatening injuries. Police say their investigation is ongoing and more charges will be laid.
Also tonight, Mark Carney's new cabinet, a mix of new faces and familiar ones as Canada's newly minted Prime Minister unveils his team. The key moves just ahead. Well, there is financial relief on the road ahead for Ontario drivers as the province announced it will follow through on some of its election promises.
That includes permanently eliminating the gas tax and removing tolls on a section of the 407. CTV's Raheem Ladani is live tonight with more details. Raheem.
Nathan, the Ford government is framing these changes as ways to protect Ontarians during uncertain times. Now, the opposition parties seemingly approve of the Premier's announcements today, but they feel it is only a fraction of the solution towards achieving affordability and reducing congestion. Drivers who use Highway 407 from Pickering to Clarington will soon keep more money in their wallet. Beginning June 1st, the province plans to permanently remove tolls from Brock Road to Highway 35 115.
A little bit here and there, savings, it kind of helps, it does.
I don't use that stretch of highway. I mostly go from Brock Road into the city, so that's where the tolls need to be eliminated. But what are you going to do? This is the last stretch of provincially tolled highway in Ontario, and getting rid of it was a campaign promise by Doug Ford during the spring election. However, as the official opposition points out, more than 100 kilometers of the 407, which is privately owned, is still tolled.
The government needs to take the next step to push for the removal of all tolls, to be able to move at least the trucks onto the 407 and reduce some of that congestion.
Both the NDP and Liberals are calling on the Premier to scrap his idea of building a tunnel under the Highway 401. Instead, Bonnie Crombie wants Ford to explore repatriating the 407.
That is really something that should be looked at. That could be far more cost effective than actually building a tunnel under the 401, which will not provide any relief to gridlock or congestion for decades, and it could bankrupt the province.
When the government tables its budget Thursday, Ontario drivers will also see a familiar break at the pumps.
Our government will be making our temporary cuts to gas and fuel tax rates permanent, saving.
This move shaves 5.7 cents off a litre of gas, which the province says will save households around $115 per year. But it is not an extra discount. The cut has been in place since the summer of 2022 and renewed ever since.
As a person who doesn't work from home, who has to go to office daily, that's a huge saving for me and my family. We have been seeing that once the carbon tax have been removed, the carbon rebate has been removed. But yeah, the removal of the tax permanently is definitely beneficial for a middle class family like us.
Now, if the government's proposed legislation is passed, that would keep the provincial rate of tax at 9 cents per litre. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Turn our attention to the weather on this Tuesday evening. A live shot in Nathan Phillips Square this hour. The day started dry and sunny, but that wet weather we were anticipating did make an appearance. It was heavy at times, depending on where you were. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Are we in the clear at this hour?
I wouldn't say so, Michelle. In fact, many parts of the GTA are set to get another round of wet weather as we make our way through this evening. Here's what it looks like on the satellite and radar. You can see that the rain is heavier stateside, but the leading edge of that system is pushing its way across southern Ontario. You might need the umbrella if you're venturing out tonight. 19 degrees is where we are right now, but compare that to Parry Sound at 26. It is cooler once again around the Golden Horseshoe close to the lake. 10 degrees in Burlington, 11 in Oakville, 10 in Grimsby. Thanks to an east wind, which is going to be with us through the evening hours tonight. Your overnight at a glance, though, at Pearson anyway, it's still going to remain quite mild tonight. 15 for the low. We're going to talk about what's in store for the rest of the week and this chance of scattered wet weather pretty well every day. That's coming up in your forecast. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. An already announced $15 billion electric vehicle project here in the province is now on hold.
Honda says the plan is being unplugged for roughly 2 years. As CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports, the Premier says he will hold the company accountable.
Thrilled to be back here in Elliston. It was supposed to be a transformational investment. $15 billion for Honda Canada to set up an electric vehicle supply chain in Alliston with 1,000 new jobs. That plan in park for 2 years. The company citing a slowdown in the EV market.
They've promised us they're going to continue on with their expansion. They're going to keep that facility moving forward.
Honda Canada insists the pause doesn't affect the 4,200 people working in Alliston now. Ontario has put up $2.5 billion in capital and servicing costs for Honda's expansion.
Each auto manufacturer, anything that we've given them, we're going to make sure that they're held accountable, and they continue manufacturing automobiles right here in Ontario.
What that accountability looks like is unclear.
We warned you over and over again to attach strings to those investments, those Ontario dollars that were attached to companies like Honda, and you shrugged it off.
The government emphasizes no money has flowed to Honda Canada yet. And while there's concern with the upheaval U.S. tariffs have created,
we're going to build a competitive economy, and that's why Premier Ford's focused on working with the Prime Minister to land a deal with President Trump.
But the opposition accuses the government of sitting out a fight.
Where is Captain Canada? Has he already hung up his cape?
Ontario has also promised billions in incentives to set up EV battery plants in Windsor and St. Thomas.
Once you put all your eggs in one basket and then the market slumps, where are your protections?
With demand for electric cars stuck,
we may end up with battery plants that aren't particularly busy in the early phases, but ultimately are just fine.
Opposition leaders are pressing the Premier to put driving an EV in closer reach by reinstating rebates, installing more chargers, and having the government buy electric for its own fleet.
We would save government money and create the kind of demand incentives we need to increase support for the industry.
To this point, the Premier hasn't signaled any willingness to revive those rebates he ended when first taking office in 2018. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The city has euthanized 2 coyotes due to what it says are growing public safety concerns in Fort York and Liberty Village. Officials say the 2 communities have unique factors that condition coyotes to human interactions, which led to them attacking pets and injuring people. The city says a mater pair of coyotes was put down, while a 3rd coyote has left the area. A group representing residents in the 2 neighborhoods had called on the city to take action earlier this year after claiming 6 coyote attacks happened in one night.
The TTC will consider changing the name of Dundas subway station to TMU station at its board meeting tomorrow. A report recommends changing the name to reflect the evolution of both the local neighborhood and nearby Toronto Metropolitan University. The report notes the universities presented the TTC with an offer that would cover the cost of renaming and create an opportunity for ongoing collaboration with the university. The proposal follows the renaming of Young Dundas Square to Sankofa Square after numerous studies found Henry Dundas, the square's namesake, was involved in delaying the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade. The Toronto Islands are a popular destination, especially in the summer, and for most people, that means a ferry ride.
But now the city is studying new options that would make it easier to access the islands and wouldn't require a boat ride. CTV's Mike Walker explains.
A permanent link connecting the city with the Toronto Islands is an idea that has been floated for years, and now one the city is considering exploring.
What we're able to do with this report moving forward is to address it with seriousness.
Deputy Mayor Ozma Malik has previously asked staff to explore options, and now the mayor's executive committee is on board with a plan to form a task force that will consider several options to connect the Portlands with Wards Island over the Eastern Gap. Options that include a bridge, tunnel, or gondola.
We don't know until we examine the possibilities.
And what's really important to me in this report is that we have short, medium, and long-term measures to look at how we do improve access to the island.
City staff warn a fixed link could take a decade to complete and cost at least $100 million.
I think it's worth exploring, and obviously it needs to come forward with a reasonable price tag. It needs to be realistic.
More than 1.5 million people travel on the aging ferries every year. Advocates say a fixed link is long overdue.
It's not accessible. It's not inclusive. It's hard to get to.
This comes as the city is spending more than $90 million on 2 new electric ferries that will triple capacity.
The island is essentially under enough stress. It's got an airport there. A lot of people go there.
Deputy Mayor Mike Cole was a lone councillor who voted against the fixed link plan.
So let's stop wasting money trying to dream up these high-tech connections to the island. All we need is the ferries.
Among the challenges, the Eastern Gap is a major shipping channel.
We don't own any of the property on one side. It's actually owned by the federal government. So if Ports Toronto says yes, we can put a tunnel there or put a bridge there, that would really start the process.
The plan will require approval from City Council next week before the task force can launch. Mike Walker, CTV News.
Still ahead, the U.S. president announces a multi-billion-dollar investment deal with Saudi Arabia. Trump's visit to the Middle East coming up. The province's Special Investigations Unit has cleared Toronto police officers in the death of a woman who fell from an apartment balcony earlier this year. The incident happened on January 13th at this high-rise on High Park Avenue. According to the SIU, officers were attempting to execute arrest warrants for a number of break-and-enter charges when a 44-year-old woman fell from a balcony. The SIU says officers knocked on the woman's door and spoke to her before she closed the door and attempted to scale down from the balcony. The woman was rushed to hospital but died a short time later. The director of the SIU says there are no reasonable grounds to believe officers committed a criminal offense, nor did they have an opportunity to prevent the woman's fall.
The driver that caused a crash on the QEW, killing a 10-year-old boy in March of 2023, has been sentenced to house arrest. Victoria Backer was behind the wheel of a Jeep Wrangler that smashed into the back of a Honda CR-V that was sitting in stopped traffic in the Fort Erie-bound lanes of the QEW. The impact of the collision killed 10-year-old Lucas Thomas, who was in the vehicle with his mother and twin brother. Backer will serve 2 years less a day of house arrest and has been ordered to perform 240 hours of community service. She's also banned from driving for 7 years. Multiple police agencies have come together to try and stop street racing and stunt driving.
As CTV's Allison Hurst reports, dangerous driving continues to be one of the leading causes of fatal crashes across the GTA.
The driving force behind many of these stunts, social media views. But now it's police across the GTA who are watching.
Excessive speed continues to be the leading contributor to fatal collisions in the GTA.
Project Erase launches today, an annual crackdown on stunt driving and illegal car rallies right across the region.
We have highly congested infrastructure, roadways. We have vehicles that and drivers that disobey speed limits, drive aggressively, and the results can be catastrophic.
Peel Regional Police has partnered with the Toronto Police Service, York Regional Police, Halton Regional Police, Hamilton Police Service, and the OPP for this enforcement campaign.
We get tons of complaints around this time of year in the city of Brampton, and I'm sure across other municipalities.
Fines in Mississauga and Brampton are up to $800 for both participants and spectators at illegal car rallies, and vehicles could be impounded and licenses suspended.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You are going to get caught. You are going to get fined. Your car is going to get seized, and it's not worth it.
Since 2022, Peel Regional Police have recorded a 154% increase in street racing related charges. That's up from 800 in 2022 to more than 2,100 in 2024. In Toronto, so far this year, they've laid 229 stunt driving charges, while all of last year there were 1,134.
It's critical that we're all working from the same script. Whether it's Peel, Durham, Halton, or Toronto, we have to all be very consistent, not just in our education, but our enforcement as well. And then it means taking it to the courts and having assigned crowns and making sure there's consistency as well in terms of the sentencing.
All month, police have an increased presence in areas known for street racing and illegal meetups. Allison Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
A mix of new faces and some Trudeau-era ministers are now tasked with governing Canada.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's cabinet was sworn in at Rideau Hall. CTV's Judy Trin has the details.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's cabinet, 28 hand-picked lieutenants chosen to fight a trade war as Canada faces threats from an American president.
Canadians elected this new government with a strong mandate to define a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to build a stronger economy.
But it's not just Donald Trump who looms over Carney's choices. The Prime Minister needed to distance himself from his predecessor. Of the prominent ministers who served under Justin Trudeau, only a dozen remain in Carney's inner circle.
This cabinet is smaller and more focused than those of previous governments. It will operate with a commitment to true cabinet government, with everyone expected and empowered to show leadership.
Francois-Philippe Champagne remains in finance, while Chrystia Freeland stays in transport and internal trade. Of experienced ministers, several are changing places.
I, Indira Anita Anand.
Anita Anand becomes Minister of Foreign Affairs, while Melanie Joly shifts to the industry post. Meanwhile, David McGuinty gets promoted to defense.
I, Tim Hodson, do solemnly and sincerely declare.
There are 15 rookie ministers, among them Tim Hodgson, the former chair of Hydro One, who becomes Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, and former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson, who becomes the Housing Minister. Carney's first ever cabinet also has an equal number of men and women, including Mandy Gulmasti, who is the first Indigenous person to lead Indigenous services. As calls for Alberta to separate grows louder, Carney has bolstered Western representation. A former reservist and lawyer, Eleanor Ozowski, is the new Minister of Emergency Management. Manitoba Métis MP Rebecca Chartrand becomes the Minister of Northern Affairs. Buckley Belanger, who has served as mayor and in Saskatchewan's provincial government, becomes a Secretary of State.
Our new government will be a strong and reliable partner to the provinces, the territories, and to Indigenous peoples.
But it's not enough of a change for the Conservatives.
He appointed Trudeau's old team and Trudeau's old advisors.
In addition to the 28 cabinet ministers, Mark Carney also appointed 10 secretaries of state to support their work. One of their first priorities will be eliminating federal trade barriers to provincial trade by Canada Day. The work officially begins on May 26, when Parliament resumes. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Combined, the Liberals and Conservatives won all but 30 of the 343 seats during the election. The NDP lost official party status. The results raised the question of what Canadians think about the prospect of a two-party system. Leger Marketing surveyed 1,600 people online. 49% said they think a two-party system would not be good for Canada. 30% said they don't know. The polling suggests people in Ontario and Alberta are most open to the idea. 23% of those provinces said it would be a good thing. The poll was conducted between May 1st and the 3rd.
Donald Trump has begun his visit to the Gulf states, announcing today he will lift sanctions on Syria.
There is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade.
Trump was in Saudi Arabia, where he is set to meet with his Syrian counterpart tomorrow. The U.S. president says he wants to give Syria a chance at peace. Earlier in the day, Trump secured a $600 billion commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the United States. He also announced the U.S. Secretary of State will attend talks scheduled for Thursday in Turkey between Ukraine and Russia. Trump will also visit Qatar and the United Arab Emirates this week.
In Vatican City, Pope Leo XIV met with members of a religious order. The pontiff was seen leaving the headquarters of the Augustinian order outside St. Peter's Square. He was twice elected superior of the order, which was formed in the 13th century. Is dedicated to service, addressing poverty, and evangelization. The Pope has affirmed he is a son of St. Augustine, following his May 8th election.
SpaceX is adding to its internet satellite constellation.
3, 2, 1, ignition, engine full power, and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
A Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida early this morning. The craft later delivered 28 satellites into low Earth orbit for the Starlink internet system. The first stage of the rocket later successfully landed on a drone ship at sea.
Coming up, a potential treatment for a serious form of liver disease. Health Canada explores a new use for the weight loss drug Wegovy. We'll explain.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, he was a huge star in the 70s and 80s, and Barry Manilow is on his final concert tour, performing in Toronto later this month. A loyal fan who requires a wheelchair was disappointed she couldn't get tickets with accessible seating. We check it out. That story is just ahead.
Well, not very long ago, we were talking about snow in this part of the province, but look at Timmins hitting 30 degrees before us here in Toronto. And once again, Winnipeg, Manitoba, 36 degrees this hour. That's the core temperature, not the humidex value. Heat warnings are in place and special weather statements too. We will remain mild across southern Ontario until the second half of the long weekend. We're going to take you through the forecast coming up, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
There are some big name acts coming to Toronto this summer. The city is hosting concerts that will include Oasis, Coldplay, and Stevie Nicks.
There's also a singer who had some major hits in the 70s and 80s. Barry Manilow is on his last concerts tour, playing in Toronto May 31st. And here's Pat Foran with Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Barry Manilow did have some major hits, such as I Write the Songs, Mandy, and Copacabana. A superfan from Brampton wanted to see him very badly and was disappointed when she couldn't get wheelchair-accessible tickets for the concert. What's your favorite song?
Oh, I have too many. I can't tell you what. I write the songs.
You would be hard-pressed to find a more loyal fan of Barry Manilow than Cynthia from Brampton, who asked us just to use her first name. Cynthia has read all his books, can play his songs on the piano, and has actually worn out his CDs.
Barry, I'm your biggest fan. Oh, it would just be thrilling to see you. Just thrilling.
She saw Barry Manilow twice many years ago and was excited the 81-year-old singer was coming to Toronto for his last concerts tour.
I write the songs.
Cynthia has a disability and requires a mobility scooter, wheelchair, and walker to get around. We first met with her in February when she was trying to buy tickets for the concert. She said she was shocked there were no wheelchair-accessible tickets available.
They checked and said, no, we're not selling tickets for the handicapped one. So I don't know why.
Manilow is playing at Scotiabank Arena, and according to its website, it does provide 1% of fixed seating for the disabled and their companions. We also reached out to Ticketmaster, and a spokesperson said accessible seating tickets were available for the show. Due to demand, this ticket type is no longer available.
For a show like Barry Manilow, the audience is going to be older folks.
An advocacy group says there needs to be more accessible seating made available for people with disabilities at concerts and sporting events.
We need to have proper standards enacted and enforced so that when future venues are built, they are designed to maximize their accessibility.
CTV News also reached out to Scotiabank Arena, and they were able to locate 2 wheelchair-accessible tickets, and they gave them to Cynthia and her husband. Now she'll be going to the concert, and she couldn't be happier.
I got tickets to Barry Manilow. Oh, our darling gone to heaven. I am so excited. I am just thrilled to pieces.
I think she's going to enjoy the show. As our population ages, there are more people with physical disabilities, and advocates say venues need to provide more than 1% of tickets for people who need special seating arrangements. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. Another comfortable day, but there's always that possibility of rain. Seems to be looming.
We are still in the thick of spring, I would say. And yeah, a lot of people wondering, do their soccer games, their baseball plans, their plans outdoors tonight go ahead, depending on the rain? Any lightning potential?
Fortunately, tonight, it's not looking like a high possibility of thunder or lightning, so that's the good news. But we are seeing some wet weather move across the GTA. This time, it's a bit more widespread compared to earlier today. Let's show you what it looked like earlier today. In fact, we started off the morning with sunshine and some very comfortable temperatures. Then, as you can see, the cloud cover rolled in. And then late this afternoon, into the early part of the evening, it was rain, showers. Depending on where you're joining us from, you might still be dry, or that rain is just moving across your neck of the woods. Here's a look at what it looks like on the satellite and radar. Going to widen things out a little bit to show you that the center of this low pressure system remains stateside, mainly over Pennsylvania, where they're getting a good soaking from this one. Us, not quite as much. We're not looking at heavy amounts of rain or a whole lot of rainfall accumulation, but it's just enough to maybe dampen those soccer fields for this evening. And then over the next couple of days, we're going to hold on to the chance of scattered wet weather. First, here's later on this evening, so around 9 p.m. Keep that umbrella handy. Into tomorrow morning, waking up to some cloud cover, just the chance of a few rain showers. Midday, that chance returns. You can see right around the shoreline of Lake Ontario. Into the evening hours, we'll dry out a little bit. We might even get some cloud cover clearing, especially southwestern Ontario. And then I'm anticipating that we're going to see a little more in the way of sunshine for both Thursday and Friday. Even though we are unsettled this week and there's that rain icon just about every day, we're also going to have some pretty dry periods throughout the week, so it's not a washout at all. Let's talk once again about the heat, especially in northwestern Ontario. Timmins, 30 degrees right now. How about Muskoka, 25, Ottawa, 26 degrees, and Windsor, 19. Usually Windsor is one of the hot spots of the province. Overnight for us tonight, forecast low is about 15 degrees. That's warmer than normal. Look at our almanac. I wanted to point this out. Our seasonal norm is 19 degrees. The record high to beat for today would have been 29 degrees. Not happening, of course, but yeah, record warmth across the north, as mentioned. Temperatures once again in the low 20s for southwest Ontario tomorrow, more likely in the teens, once again closer to the Lake Ontario shoreline, like Burlington, for example, 17 degrees for you, 19 in the Trenton area, another mild day in Huntsville. But as mentioned, we hold on to that chance of showers over the next few days here. I want to talk about Friday, forecast daytime high 26 degrees. So we're going to kick off the long weekend with some warmth into Saturday, still mild, but a 60% chance of showers. Heading into Sunday, Monday, drier. Might still have some cloud cover on Sunday, but overall it's looking improved for spending time outside. But you might need a jacket. Highs of 15 and 16 degrees. At least fireworks should be able to go ahead for Victoria Day Monday. That's your forecast for now. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, uniting music lovers in perfect harmony. A new concert venue opens just north of the city, transforming the live entertainment scene. It's been approved in Canada for use in diabetes and heart attack prevention.
Now the drug known as Wegovy is being tested in Canada as a treatment for MASH, formerly known as fatty liver disease. We get more from our health reporter, Pauline Chan.
Semaglutide 2.4 milligrams is better known as Wegovy, and Health Canada is now exploring whether the weight loss drug might be used as a treatment for metabolic dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis, or MASH, formerly known as fatty liver disease.
Basically fatty infiltration of the liver, and then MASH is when those fat deposits in the liver start causing inflammation in the body.
Its effects can be deadly.
So the disease can lead to even hepatic failure or liver failure, where it fails to do the functions that it's supposed to be doing, and also in some cases lead to liver cancer.
In the past, weight loss and lifestyle changes were the only form of treatment, but recent studies have shown improvement in MASH after the use of Wegovy.
It's kind of like it's too good to be true in a way.
Dr. Harpreet Bajaj says 10 to 20% of patients may have side effects.
Some people may experience nausea, also vomiting, constipation, and diarrhea. But all of these adverse effects, if they happen, are temporary.
MASH affects 5 to 6% of Canadians, but it is significantly underdiagnosed, especially in the early stages.
It's even more prevalent if you look at higher risk populations, like those living with obesity or those with type 2 diabetes.
And so for the first time, Diabetes Canada is urging active testing for MASH.
We've announced that we will include recommendations for diagnosing MASH in people with type 2 diabetes with non-invasive markers to begin with, which includes this blood tests or and if needed, this special kind of ultrasound.
The hope is earlier diagnosis and better treatments will reduce the toll of MASH in Canada. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Cassandra Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs, testified in day 2 of the sex trafficking trial against the music mogul. And a warning, some of the details are disturbing. Ventura testified today Combs' drug-fueled sex parties that he called freak-offs happened so often that eventually it became a job. She says she participated because she was in love and wanted to make Combs happy, adding it felt like she didn't have much of a choice. Ventura also said arguments with Combs would turn violent, and he controlled everything from her career to the way she dressed. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, with the defense arguing all of the sexual encounters were consensual.
The 78th edition of the Cannes Film Festival began today, and one of the first orders of business was recognizing the work of a giant of the silver screen. Robert De Niro was presented with the honorary Palme d'Or for lifetime achievement. The 2-time Oscar winner received a standing ovation during the festival's opening ceremony. De Niro said Cannes brings storytellers, filmmakers, fans, and friends together. It is like coming home. The festival runs until May 24th. Well, back here at home and north of the city, there is a new hub for music lovers.
And as CTV's Andrea Case reports, Harmony Music Hall says if you like the sound of music, this is your destination.
The old Vandorf Community Centre in Whitchurch, Stouffville, minutes north of Toronto, has been transformed into one of the GTA's newest music venues. Kevin Kerr is one of the owners of Harmony Music Hall.
It's about music, it's about community, it's about accessibility, it's about low ticket prices and exposing, treating artists with absolute kindness and showcasing them for the community. And I think as long as we have those reasons behind us, success is coming and people are coming and the community's response has been incredible. Everybody loves it. Great artists are reaching out to us, so it does feel right.
On stage, Juno Award winner Jake Vadland and his band, the Sturgeon River Boys. Music is more than a passion for Kerr. In 2018, he pulled off an incredible feat called Winter Song. With over 437 hours of nonstop music, it earned him the Guinness World Record for the world's longest concert ever. This venue will offer more than music.
A lot of artists are telling other artists about us. That's kind of been a really cool thing for us. We started reaching out to a few bands in the beginning that we really wanted to showcase here, and now a lot of artists are coming to us.
One of Kerr's business partners in this venture is Unionville businessman and musician Lou Tucci.
It is a little different because there are a lot of bands that are, above the bar level, but not quite, the level of a Massey Hall or something like that. So this, provides a perfect venue for those bands that are in between. And of course, there's nothing like this north of the city.
Sure, it's nice to come to such a lovely venue.
Open since October, this intimate venue where music matters holds 200 people.
To see some people out there in the front singing songs that I wrote, singing words to it and stuff, that's kind of a nice feeling, and that they enjoy it. I always like to make sure that people leave with a smile on their face.
Harmony Hall has a busy upcoming lineup, including Ron Sexsmith, the Sultans of String, a Bob Marley tribute band, and a number of local acts. Andrea Case, CTV News.
After the break, a positive sign. Recovering goalie Anthony Stolar is back on the ice ahead of the team skate today. We catch up with the Leafs gearing up for Game 5 tomorrow.
See 20 meters ahead of me because of all the smoke. It's crazy. And then all the buildings around us, including mine, our alarms started going off, so we had to evacuate.
Updating our top stories, an overnight fire sent one firefighter to hospital with minor injuries. The blaze broke out at a home on Bathurst near Richmond. By the time firefighters arrived, it had spread to 2 other homes. Fire officials say only one of the homes was occupied. None of the occupants was injured. The Ontario Fire Marshal's office is now investigating.
Our government will be making our temporary cuts to gas and fuel tax rates permanent.
The province says it's following through on its election promise to make the cut to the gas tax permanent, as well as removing tolls on a portion of the 407 from Pickering to Clarington. Opposition parties say the government needs to do more, including buying back the 407 to make it completely toll-free and scrap plans to build a tunnel under the 401.
What's really important to me in this report is that we have short, medium, and long-term measures to look at how we do improve access to the island.
And the city is moving ahead with plans to study new options to get people to and from the Toronto Islands. The executive committee has approved a plan to form a task force to study options, including a bridge, tunnel, or gondola that would connect the Portlands with Lord's Island. More than 1.5 million people use the ferry service each year to access the islands.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
More now on the decision by Honda to pump the brakes on a major Canadian investment. Here's BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez.
Last year, Honda announced it would spend $15 billion on EV infrastructure in Ontario. It isn't canceling the contract, but it is postponing plans for 2 years. Honda reported earnings, and the company's operating profit was off 76% in its latest quarter. The Japanese automaker says the American tariffs are hurting its bottom line, and it will only get worse. It is also seeing slack in EV demand, which is why it's delaying the build-out in Ontario. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar is up more than a quarter, hitting 71.77. West Texas Intermediate is up $1.69 to 63.25. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it up to 52.28. And the TSX is up 84 points today to 25,616. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Well, a positive sign for Toronto Maple Leafs fans today as the team held an optional practice ahead of tomorrow's Game 5.
The Leafs are hoping to regain control of a series they once led 2-0. CTV's Sean Leathong heard from some of the players.
A happy sight for Leafs fans. Goaltender Anthony Stolarz ahead of Leafs practice, seen skating for the first time since being injured in Game 1 of their series against Florida.
Yeah, it was great. Sully's obviously been a big part of our team all year, and like we've been talking about, we're comfortable with any goalie in that net, but just seeing him back on the ice, seeing him in good spirits, it's always something you love to see as a teammate.
Stolarz leaving practice after about 15 minutes, suggesting that Game 5 is very much in the hands of Joseph Woll. Woll, who was the best Leafs player in their 2-0 loss to Florida in Game 4, has very much gained the confidence of fans who inserted the goaltender's name into the Oasis song Wonderwall.
Nizy was showing me that the other day. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice little ring to it.
Yeah. Are you an Oasis fan?
I like Wonderwall, yeah.
As easygoing as Woll may be, bad blood has certainly developed in this series. From the hit that took Stolarz out of Game 1 to a hit Max Domi delivered to Florida captain Alexander Barkov in the dying seconds of Game 4. Domi was fined $5,000. Today, Domi's saying he isn't worried about retribution.
Just looking forward to the next game, bud.
But in the aftermath, Panthers forward Matthew Tkachuk was seen saying that he's going to get Leafs forward William Nylander in Game 5. When asked if Nylander was worried, coach Craig Berube said,
"He probably didn't even hear him. He doesn't hear me."
One player Leafs fans want to hear from in Game 5 is Captain Austin Matthews, who has yet to score in the second round of the playoffs, as the Leafs look to stop Florida's momentum and take a 3-2 series lead tomorrow night. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Just ahead, adorable new additions arriving just in time for spring. We take a walk on the wild side at the Hyde Park Zoo. For generations, it's been a popular place for people to visit while touring the city's biggest park.
Tonight, CTV's Jessica Smith introduces us to some of the newest attractions at the Hyde Park Zoo.
Just in time for spring, the Hyde Park Zoo has some adorable new additions.
Oh my goodness, it is so cute. Its little button nose and fluffy fur, better than expected.
Molly McMoo was born March 22nd and her new baby brother born May 1st.
And we also have our unnamed calf who was just born recently. We are going to be doing a naming contest very soon. The zookeepers give us several names, and then we put it out to the public, and they can choose their favorite name.
The Highland calves are some of the newest members of the zoo community and already a fan favorite, bringing the total number of animals that call Hyde Park home to 38.
The cows, the llamas, the emus, the capybaras, they all have names. And people love to know that because it makes it more personal.
From peacocks to yaks and sheep, the zoo lets you take a walk on the wild side in downtown Toronto.
The little one. Oh, we come all the time. I grew up coming with my grandparents. My dad grew up coming to the zoo, so to be able to come with both my kids now and for them to experience it is so special.
Making for a great place to spend time with friends and family. The Hyde Park Zoo is open 7 days a week and is completely free to the public. For more information, you can visit hydeparkzoo.ca. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Welcome. Well, parts of the city and maybe some of those animals are getting a soaking at this hour.
Yeah, the rain pretty steady in many parts of the GTA right now. So that's the kind of early evening we are in for anyway. We're going to take one more look at the satellite and radar to show you what we're dealing with. You might be able to hear the rain outside of your window right now, depending on where you're joining us from. So again, anticipate this through at least the early evening into the overnight, holding on to that chance of showers. Tomorrow, the chance of more scattered wet weather this time, so less in the way of widespread rain like we're experiencing right now. This is good for the lawns and the gardens out there. I know many people are eager to get into the garden and will likely be doing so this weekend. The May long weekend, the unofficial kickoff to the summer season, a big one for gardening. 7-day forecast brings us not a lot of heavy rain aside from this evening, but the chance of just a little sprinkle over the next several days heading into that weekend, followed by a cool down for Sunday and Monday. Michelle and Nathan.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.